Hello and welcome to Master the Moment. I'm Joe.
And I'm Christian, and Joe and I are the co-founders of the Culinary Executive Mastermind. And in this podcast, Joe and I are going to share with you our knowledge, our experience, and our expertise to help you to create a better life for yourself, for your family, for your career, and for your business.
Welcome once again to Master Your Networking. And today we have our special guest, Gil Rodriguez, and Chef Christian, and your other host, myself, Joe Rodriguez. Take it away, Chef.
Hello, Gil, and welcome to our podcast. And we really appreciate you making some time to be part of this. And I'm really excited to hear a little bit more about your program, how you gotten into networking. As you know, our industry is really big in networking. And I also want to hear a little bit how our listeners could take that model of networking and kind of turn it into the food industry. So with that, be excited to have you ours for the next 20, 25 minutes. So Gil, give us the 5-minute cliff note, who you are, what you do, and how you started networking.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And again, my name's Gil Rodriguez, and I've been involved in networking for over a decade. And it started with a career change. And it was a career change where I got into an industry I had no idea what to do. I didn't know anything about sales, and now I was in sales. And I got introduced to a networking group, and from then it started. And I was so impressed with how these people network that I just started taking mental notes and learning everything that I could from them. And a lot of times what it is it's just a matter of practice and being aware of your surroundings, what you're doing, what you're saying, and really who you are. But networking is something that a lot of people don't give a lot of attention to, but it is a great way to build and grow a business. I started from zero as far as a client base, and my book of business grew, and I'd say 80% of it was from the networking activities that I was doing. So needless to say that there's a lot of business that can be grown just from networking alone, without a doubt.
I love that, and I love
Yeah.
that story, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more. So, if you talk about networking, give us really the definition. What do you consider networking? And you hear networking, a lot of people talk about, going out for a drink. Is that kind of networking? Or how about if I meet somebody on the street and I have a connection with that person, or I'm part of a group like this, or even our group, being part of our mastermind. I mean, you are part of our mastermind, and you have become a really valuable member being part of it, not just for the knowledge you bring from the networking side. Is really, I always think you may be a frustrated chef, because you look at our industry and you have that innate ability taking our industry and make it mold yours and come out with something really new and cool. So it's really great having you part of it. So if you talk about networking, break it down for our listener, because we have a little bit of everything. We have somebody who's brand new in this industry, we have some seasoned veterans in here, and we also have somebody who says, hey, COVID happened. How am I going to pivot? And you have the story about how you pivot your business. So talk a little bit about networking and how people can pivot their business and kind of leverage networking.
Yeah.
Right, right. And it's all about pivoting. And in networking, especially, your situations always change in your business, especially in your business. But just like with everybody else. And the thing is that when you network everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're at a family barbecue, if you're at line in the store, if you're in a formal networking group. It's all networking. It really, truly is. And the thing is for the most part, um, people don't think of it that way, and they're at a loss for words when they come across an opportunity to network. If it's as simple as if somebody says to you, what do you do for a living?
Yep.
You know, how do you respond to that? What do you say? And the thing is that there's a lot you can say, but the thing is you don't want to stumble and bumble and trip over your words. You want to be concise, and you want to be sure-footed on the things that you say. So it's always
Mhm.
something that should be a work in progress with everybody, to think about what it is that they do in a nutshell. Have a tagline. You
Mhm.
know, my networking business, I say it's networking made easy, because I do everything I can for businesses to make networking easy. So that's my tagline. And it, you know, even simple stuff like that helps, because it gives people something to walk away with. And if anything, they could say, oh, yeah, I talked to that guy. What did he say? Oh, yeah, networking made easy. And if they Google it, they're probably going to find me, you know?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
little things like that that work, and that most people, like I said, just don't take the time out to try to hone their craft as far as, you know, their elevator pitch. And it's super
Mhm.
important, because you'll never know, you know, when the next time you're going to have to use it.
So if I just heard you right, you are using and making networking your business card.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things that I truly love to do. I love introducing other business owners to one another. I love making connections between the businesses and potential clients, or more often than not, it's other businesses that can help a business owner
Mhm.
in what they're doing, in their journey to success. It could be mentorship. It could be maybe they're looking for a new accountant or something.
Right.
You never know what it is, but I'll tell you, you know, if you want to network with somebody, you know, one of the best things you can do is just open your ears and close your mouth and just listen, because sometimes that could be the most help to them, is just to be heard, you know.
Mhm.
And there's a lot that can happen with networking, and there's a lot that can be done with it, you know, to help you personally and professionally.
What I see though is a passion with you, and exactly what you just said is paying it forward for
Mhm.
somebody. And I see you, like you said, maybe even hush your mouth and listen with your ears, and yet your passion comes through because you get so excited. And why you're so successful is because when you pass it on, you get more glory out of passing it on and setting up somebody to the next level than
Mhm.
doing it for yourself. Right?
Absolutely. You know, that's why I got into the business.
Yeah.
You know, somebody had that had known me for years told me that, you know, Gil, you should really get into the networking business, because you enjoy it so much and you're so
Yep.
good at it. You know, find a way to monetize it and go for it. And, you know, it was true. And I just went for it, because the thing is that in past jobs and industries that I've been in, I got more enjoyment from the networking part
Mhm.
of it than the actual sales and work that I was doing.
I love what you said. You know, the elevator speech, and you hear a lot about elevator speech, and there's classes out there on how to perfect your elevator speech. Talk to us a little bit about an elevator speech, and how do people take the idea, or the practice of an elevator speech and make it fit this virtual environment, because there's a lot more introduction virtually these days than in person. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So, you know, an elevator speech should be a work in progress, should always be a work in progress, because you're not sure if that elevator ride is going to be one floor or 50
Mhm.
floors, right?
Very good.
So, you know, the thing is that, and if you're online and you're talking with somebody, or if it's over the phone or if it's in person, it really doesn't matter. The thing is you don't know how much time you have to get the word out of what it is that you do. So you have to, you know, think in your mind, okay, what is it that I do? And shorten it and be concise with it, to where if you only have 15 seconds to say what it is that you do, you know, you have to take that seriously, and you really have to decide what it is you want to get out in 15 seconds. You might be in a group where they only allow you 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes. You might be doing a presentation where you have a longer period of time. So the thing is it should be something that everybody works at and constantly works at, because you don't know.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I've networked with people in line at a supermarket many, many times, and the thing is, you know, sometimes you have 5 minutes, sometimes you have 10 seconds. It doesn't matter. you get out what you can, and just think about what the main point is and how you want somebody to remember you by. And if you have a business card, if it's face to face, I mean, by all means, pass that along. One of the other things you could do is have a digital um, card. So, like for me, in my contacts on my telephone, I have myself as a contact, and it has my business address, my phone numbers, my websites, all of that stuff. And I could just shoot somebody a text with it, and
Oh,
that's a
wow.
great thing to do because you don't always have a business card on you or anything. And these days, everybody's about going green anyway. So you don't need them. And everybody understands that. And everybody texts, and so doing it that way is a great thing to do too. But there's a lot of little tricks of the trade. But anyway, people just have to think about that on how they want somebody to walk away with their information.
Right.
So one of the things for the networking also, that was great, by the way, is because, again, both of our careers over 30 years, and if I can even think of all the people that I've ran across. So I think there's one secret key to all this. This is great. You give an elevator speech, but tell us the importance of staying in touch, following up, and also staying in touch with them years and years going down the line, not just when we need something.
Right. And that is exactly the key, Joe. You hit right on it. The thing is I like to run, and I like to run distance, and I'm going to be running a half marathon sometime this year. I know I'm going to, which will be a first for me, but I like to relate networking to that, because the thing is that to network properly,
Right.
it's a long distance race. I mean, it really is. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight. Now, sure, there's the outliers where a connection is made immediately and sales happen. I mean, that's going to be there too. But the main thing with networking is you're building the relationships. And the thing is you need to follow through. When you meet somebody, you shouldn't just have it that one meeting and then that's
Right.
it and it ends.
Right.
You need to follow through with people. You need to connect with them on a continual basis, and you do that over the course of time. The touches can be distance apart, where it doesn't have to be next week or
Right.
next month or next year, but every once in a while you touch base where they still know you, they think about you, and if the situation arises where your services could be needed, they're going to say, yeah, you know what, call Gil. He's going to help you out. And that is the key to networking, is just building those relationships to where you're top of mind. That is the
Very.
key.
I love that, and that's some really good nuggets of great information in there. We really appreciate it. So let's shift a little bit. So we're talking about how to stay in touch with somebody. So how would somebody who is an introvert make themselves
Right.
available for somebody to network? So talk to me on the opposite. So what I'm supposed to do to follow up, how can I interact, or what is a way of being for me that people want to connect with me?
Right. So the thing is that that question comes in many, many forms. First of all, when I told you in that first networking group I was a part of, I mean, I was freaked out, especially when I found out I'm going to have to stand in front of these people and speak. This is a group of people I don't know. The thing is that the most comfortable situation that you could think of being in is when you're in a room with your family that you live with, and you're just talking to them. And if you keep that in mind, it's really nothing more than that, or a good friend. You have no problem in expressing yourself to a good friend that you have. You just need to think of it in that sense where, they're nothing more than that. We're all just people, and it doesn't matter what your status is, what your fame is, or anything. We're all people, and you just have to remember that and get past that part of it. Now, the follow up with it, it's just a matter of, hey, it was great meeting you yesterday. I really appreciated you taking the time out and giving me the opportunity to learn a little bit about what you do. Can we meet again maybe in a couple of weeks And, we could go into depth a little bit more just so I know a little bit better what you do. And then that way, when somebody, says that they need services and I think about you, I know exactly what it is that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's how you start building the relationships is really as easy as that. And then from time to time you reach out and say, hey, you know what, this is Gil, just checking in, see how you're doing. How's business? Nothing more than that. And like I said, you use your ears more than your mouth and everything is going to go good, because you start becoming a trusted person to them when they can realize that you're not about the sell, you're more about the relationship. And when that happens, that's when that whole know, like, and trust thing comes into play, and people are going to do business with you because they now know, like, and trust you.
You couldn't have said that better. In fact, for those that are listening on this podcast, please take that, push it back a little bit, and listen to that again, because that is definitely the secret sauce. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, talking about networking, how can I leverage technology or look with our network? You've been part of our executive mastermind. So if somebody wants to start in networking, give them one or two pointers. Where should they go trying to find a network, or where should they kind of invest themselves into a program, maybe a mastermind as ours, or in a networking group like yours? So what are 2 or 3 pointers you would recommend somebody who says, hey, how do I start building a network, and not just a network of resources somewhere, also a place where I can contribute into?
Sure. So, so there's pre-COVID and then there's COVID, because pre-COVID, everything was in person. Whereas now everything is virtual, which is fine. Networking is networking. It doesn't matter if you're in person or if it's virtual or if it's on a phone or whatever. And the groups that are out there, there's plenty of networking groups, and they're all doing the same thing, even just in a virtual setting. So you have networking groups that are out there, like a Business Network International or BNI. There's a lot of groups like a BNI. There are chambers of commerce. There's Rotary groups. There's a lot of these groups that are out there, and they're all meant for business networking. Mm-hmm. Now, some of them are free, like mine. You could come to my networking group meetings. They're always going to be free. And there's some that you end up paying a lot of money for. Some of them are in excess of $1,000 a year. So I always tell people free is great. How somebody could start out is really just talking to other business owners and asking them, what is it that you do? Call other people that are in the same industry you're in and just ask them, what's worked, what hasn't worked for you? What type of networking do you do? And, if they don't want to share with you because they see themselves as competitors, then that's fine. Thank them and move on. Mm-hmm. But most people will want to share and help, their comrades in any way that they can. Doesn't matter if they're in the same industry or not. That's where I would start, honestly, is go to an event like what you guys host. You could contact me. I'd be happy to invite you to the networking groups that I do. But they're all fine places to start, and you could just Google them and they'll come up.
Could you give us an example? I mean, you've been doing this, and again, you're the master of this. So give our listeners 2 profiles. A profile of a person who doesn't network, and what happens, we want clarity for our listeners. A profile for somebody who doesn't network their business, and somebody that you're thinking takes the networking to the limit. I mean, there's got to be you've seen these other groups. Who's the superstar and what they have achieved, and where's those 2 different levels? Give us those 2 profiles.
Sure. So, I mean, I'll go back to when I started in my sales position a lot of years ago. I took the route of the networking because I got invited into that world. But for my coworkers and the people that were in my industry that I knew that didn't network, they had to hustle every sell. They had to think about where the next sale is going to come from, and they exhausted family and friends and everything else and used their family and friends and so on, which is tough. And that was something I really wasn't willing to do. You go to the networking side of it, and all the people that you meet and you get to know, you get to know what they do, you get to help them out, and it's all about reciprocating. You help
Wow.
somebody else and they're going to want to help you back. And it's more of a word of mouth strategy than anything else. And in writing business, that's word of mouth is the easiest business to write. And that is really the end result. And like I said, when you could build a book of business and 80% of it is from your networking, that's great, because now you have a network of people, and sales are made by word of mouth. I mean, that's great. You talk to anybody who's into sales and they will tell you that word of mouth business is the best business to have.
Wow, that's great.
I love, I mean, for me, I have already 2 pages of notes here. And so for me, I love what we put together with our mastermind. And we find that when we survey our group and from the experience they go through, networking is on the top 2 things people getting out of that. So if you out there and you network, so give us the do's and don'ts on a follow-up, because I think a lot of people kind of fall short or don't know how often should I follow up. Should I send somebody an email every day and then I follow up with a 20-minute voicemail, or I leave them a voicemail that I send them an email? So give us a little bit the etiquettes around networking.
So the one thing you don't want to be is, you don't want to be the used car salesman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be somebody out there where they're filling your email up every day, where you're getting 10 emails from the same person every day. Call me, connect with me, I can do this for you, I could do that for you. You don't want to be that person. Okay, you want to be the person that's more heartfelt, that's more purposeful, and you want to be the person that is actually sincere about wanting to help that person that you just met. It's all about the reciprocal of the relationship. If I give you enough business, at some point you're going to turn around and say, you know what, I've got to help Gil. I've got to give Gil business because he's helped me so much. And that is the end result you want to be in. So when you follow up with people, you want it to be heartfelt, you want it to be sincere, and you genuinely want to learn more about their business. And that's the part that people struggle with, is it's not about me, it's about you. And once they could get past that and it goes that way, that's when things are going to happen. That's when you're going to build relationships, and that's when you're going to be able to grow your business through these relationships. It's not about me, it's about you.
Wow. Again, for our listeners, please take that, rewind that back again. Listen to it twice. That was
that's the biggest mistake people make. It really is. People go into networking and all they want to do is talk about themselves, talk about their business, talk about how they can help you, not in your business, but how their product can help you, or how their service can help you. And basically it's a sales job. That's not, what networking is about. There's a time and a place.
Yeah, for me, I'm always interested in how people got into that. So how did you get into networking? You said you were in sales. So tell us a little bit about your side and the journey you came in, and how people can learn from that journey, and how you pivoted, and how they can and do something different.
Well, one of the things I've always been told my whole life really is what a good listener I am. Even when I was young, people used to just, spill their stories out to me and tell me all of their woes and their life story and everything, even though I never asked. But the thing is that really that's how it started for me. Is I was a good active listener. But I went to school and I graduated with a business degree, and I learned how to do the things right way versus the wrong way, and motivating people and doing all that stuff. And I had a lot of management roles before I went into sales. And, I had a lot of different business aspects and personal aspects before I got into sales. So once I jumped into sales and I got invited into that first networking group, I had a lot of this other stuff kind of taken care of, but I just needed to crack the nut on, what makes a good networking person. And again, I just closed my mouth, opened my ears, and try to learn from mentors that I had. And in doing that, just kind of adapted it to my story and building my own story and what works for me. So, but honestly, it's all about the relationships and everything that you do with the relationships. And those business relationships really turn into friendships. And, I have no idea how many business relationships, in this world. I've got hundreds upon hundreds and probably thousands upon thousands if I was to list them all. But it's all coming from, that sincerity and just wanting to do well by others and helping others. And it all comes back to you.
And that's definitely your calling. So, but going on that, I think your next calling could be priesthood. I mean,
wow. Yeah.
I thought the conversation went so great. But so I'm interested. So people hearing so much about network. So honestly, what are the 3 or 5 most undervalued benefits of networking?
So networking is one of those things where the undervalue of it is that it works, and it works over time. There's people that'll throw business my way, and I haven't even talked to them in years, and it's just because of the relationships that were built, a long time ago. So you just don't know. That is one of the definite benefits that people just don't think about. But the other part about it is the time. People think that they don't have time, or it's a waste of time, to build these relationships. And the thing is you have to understand it does take time. But the payoff on it will last much longer. It really will, personally and professionally. You both of you two know what it's like to have these professional relationships and what it can do for you. So the thing is that I think we can all speak about what the relationships do for you in a business sense and how important it is. But the thing is, for people that aren't in that realm or don't devote the time needed to develop those relationships, it's definitely worth it. And I think that's the thing that people don't put enough value into, is just building the relationships, because that is the key.
Great. I love that. So just to finish up, I know we can talk about networking all day, especially Joe. It's one of Joe's superpowers. And so it comes easy to him. So how can people get a hold of you? How can people find out more about what you do? Tell us, where can people find you?
Okay. So the business that I have, it's called White Rabbit Business Solutions. You can look me up on that. You can find my website. I'm always having networking events. I have at least one a month. They're always free. You could find me there. You could send me an email. I'd be happy to respond, and we could set up a call or a Zoom or something. And I'd love to meet you and help you in any way that I can. And and teach you and help you find the way of how networking can definitely help you out in your business.
Great. We appreciate it. And as always, what we will do with the description of the podcast on the bottom, we make sure that we get you guys Gil's information. If we telling you, he is a genius at that. And if you want to reach out to somebody, I think he needs to be on the top of your list. Gil, thanks for being here today. Joe, any closing words for Gil?
From Gil, again, to all of our listeners, if you want to change your business or you want to change your life for the life you really want, see Gil. He'll make the difference.
Thank you, chefs, very much for having me on your show.
Great. We appreciate you, and we speak with you guys on our next podcast.
Wonderful. Thank you.